Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast, and today we are here with a special guest, man like Potsy, Dan Potts. How you doing, my bro? Welcome to the channel.
Listen, big up, man. Absolute legend for having me on. And love all of your content, my guy. Every time I turn on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you're there. Five things we've learned. It's great, man. It's great. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for the invite, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. Pleasure to always have you on. This is obviously your Cannon Podcast debut. So, lads, I've put his channel down below in the description. It's the Football's 12th man, right?
Yeah, Football's 12th man. Yeah, love it. Thank you, bro.
Check it out, man. 22k subscribers, gone massive, man. I see how it is, man. What are you on the road to like 50k or 100k? What's your current target?
Listen, at the moment it's 30, and then we see where we go from there, my bro. Let's
go. Let's get him to. let's help him get there. Cannon Podcast. Check out Dan's content. Look, there's so much going on there. There's Arsenal content. There's Premier League content. So a lot to watch and a lot to digest as well. But Dan, listen, Arsenal preseason. We had quite a few games. I was obviously in the USA. Very lucky to be there. But I want to know your thoughts and what you saw, because obviously, look, we've know how in terms of Mikel Arteta and so you've obviously been a bit critical at times, but that's nothing wrong with that. You know, you can have your own thoughts about that. But seeing Arsenal this preseason, having missed out slightly last year, what was your feeling in preseason watching those games? Were you impressed, or were you going, look, I want to see more. I want to see more going into the season?
So I think there's not a lot that I learned from it in terms of the players. I knew a lot about what I was going to see. The players I did learn about, however, were some of the youngsters, man, because I didn't know much about them. I don't watch the youth like some fans do. I know about Ethan Nwaneri, I know about Lewis Skelly, and I know about Heaven and some of the other lads we saw. But actually, I was really impressed by him, Bhavs, I've got to say. I thought Lewis Skelly in particular was very, very calm on the ball, collected on the ball, very versatile. I believed he was more of a midfielder. We saw him play at left back a few times. I also saw what Ethan Nwaneri is about and how he's happy to come in at any position and give 110. What I really liked about him was not just how comfortable he looked on the ball and how confident he was. It was actually when he gave the ball away really badly in one of the games. I think it was against Manchester United. He just didn't care. He just went and got it back and then carried on. It didn't let it phase him. And I was really impressed by that. The other thing that thought was quite interesting was where and how Julian Timber was used. Playing him at centre-back for most of the time, I think is very interesting because for me, I haven't really seen an Saliba cover yet, if I'm honest with you. We don't really know who that is. Is it Ben White to shift across? Is it Tommy to shift across? Or is it Julian Timber? Well, I think he's answered that. It looks like it's going to be potentially Julian Timber. And I think we're so lucky last season that Saliba didn't get that knock because the season before we did and we had to have Rob Holding come in. We don't want to be seeing that sort of thing again. So for me, I think Timber coming in there now, we've actually definitely strengthened that position. I really liked the press from all the players. I liked the fact that the players that have come back from the Euros and Copa America looked ready. It didn't look like they were tired or jaded. It looked like they'd already come prepared as opposed to turn up and try and get fit. They already looked fit. And I actually quite liked a lot of what Arteta was saying in relation to transfers and in relation to the team. So I think it's fairly good. Listen, it's pre-season. It's still not over yet. But when you look at it over there, players that are coming back into the mix now, I'm excited to see the last couple of games where we start to see the Arsenal that we recognise with the likes of Saka and Rice and Ramsdale and Raya returning, man. So, yeah, fair play, man, at the moment. I was quite impressed by the little that I did see.
Yeah, you're right. The youngsters are the guys that caught us out straight away. You know, I'm also not one that watches the academy play, so seeing them play, seeing them get a chance as well, I think it was nice to see. Just very heartwarming, you know, because I was actually lucky enough to. So on the way back, on my flight back to London, I bumped into Miles's mum, Miles Lewis Skelly, and
nice.
Aiden Heaven. And they were just so heartwarming because just to see how proud they are of their sons and stuff, like honestly, insane. Also, it's good to know that they watch our content, which is nice.
Yeah,
it's good to see that as well. Massive fans. But look, I think going into next season, I've got a lot of excitement myself as well, if I'm real, because of the youngsters and also because, you know, it could be a year where you potentially win a title. So there's a lot of expectations. So we're going to go through the predictions. This stream is all about predictions. So chat, give us your questions, give questions to Dan and to myself. We're here, you know, for a bit at least to talk about predictions and all of Arsenal as always. Dan, was there any player apart from the youngsters, maybe a first teamer that kind of surprised you or caught you off guard, or one that you expect to have a big year this next season?
Yeah, I mean, not surprised because I know what he can do, but I really liked the fact that Martinelli stole the show when he come on against United.
Okay.
Like, for me, I think he's got a big season ahead of him. And I don't want to start making excuses for him, Babs, because I've got to stay consistent. I think he's got to look at his own performance last season. But I think sometimes people disrespect and forget how good he is. The season before that, he was our top goal scorer. And last season, the left-hand side was completely muddled for me. There was a different left back behind him every game. There was a different number 9 in front of him every game. And there was a different left 8 aside him every single game. So I don't think he really settled like they did on the right-hand side. But that right-hand side is set, bruv. You know it's Saliba and White. You know it's Ødegaard and Saka every single game. With Martinelli, it was like Trossard's kind of taking my place. I don't know whether Timber's going to be behind me or if it's going to be Zinchenko, Kivior, or Tomiyasu. Alongside that, I've got Havertz playing in the 8, then it's Fabio Vieira, then it's Smith Rowe, then it's Trossard. And up top, I don't know if it's going to be Havertz, Jesus already. So I kind of feel like, although some of those positions, fair play, Saka has to deal with as well. But Martinelli was a little bit shambled for me and a little bit confused in my opinion. I'm a big fan of him. He's one of my favourite players. And I think when he's on SOG, he's one of the best in the league in his position. I really do believe that. And I know a lot of people have laughed at me when I've said that. But I'm like, look, left wingers, we're not exactly spoilt in the Premier League, are we? We're comparing him with the likes of Rashford and Grealish and Mitoma and people like that. For me, I think he's the best left winger in the league when on form. And I know Trossard got ahead of him. And to be fair, probably rightly so. But I think Martinelli's got a big year, man. And he was one that impressed me. I thought Jesus looked sharp as well. And I think for me, they're the two players that I think have got big seasons, man. I really do.
Yeah, no, I heard the Martinelli shot. I think he was very sharp. I think was it Liverpool or United? He just, but it was obviously scored against United. But even that Liverpool game in the first 10 minutes or so, he was really causing issues. So I hear that. I hear that for sure. Got a little question from Monte saying, if Nwaneri to cover Ødegaard if he gets injured. Opinions? I think it's possible, but more on the left-hand side. I don't think he'll cover Ødegaard. Ødegaard's the captain, and not just the captain, but he leads our press. He's got so many little things that he's involved in. I think replacing him, if he's injured, is a massive task for Nwaneri. I just do expect, I do hope at least, that he gets a few minutes off the bench in certain games, because I think he can offer us stuff we don't really have. A player who can pick the ball up in between the lines. He can carry the ball as well. He's very silky on the ball. I think is he got a good chance to break into the team this year. Question from Charles says, do you think the Emirates will feel quiet this year and tense, as it did at the beginning of last season? Maybe, Dan. I know Dan goes to games as well. There's a lot of expectation this year. Right? This is the year we're going to win the league title, and we'll see how the Emirates Cup is. But it's the Emirates Cup, it's just kids going to the game, and it's their first Emirates appearance. But I'm talking about first game of the season against Wolves. Let's just say we're in the 60th minute and we ain't scored yet. I think it will be tense. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. If it gets to a stage where we're struggling against Wolves, of course it will go a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't think we can go into this game against Wolves believing we're going to be struggling. The better team, we've got to blitz them, we've got to start strong, and I think the crowd will get behind them, man. I know the Emirates Cup is a little bit of a different kind of atmosphere than the normal games, but for me, bro, we've got to go in. We've actually got a hard, very, very hard start, Bhavs. We're not going into this 6 games thinking, this will be all right. Win the first 6, we'll be fine. This is going to be hard, man. There's a few in there that are really going to be a struggle, bro. So, man, I expect the Emirates to be as good as it always is, man.
Yeah. Listen, I expect the same as well because it's open day of the season, but I do hear the sentiment that come the latter parts of the season, or even mid-season, so if we're struggling against, because sometimes you have those games, look at last year against Fulham. No one expected us to drop points at home against Fulham, but you struggle, and then fans kind of get onto you because we all expect something this year. We all expect a title, and I would actually moving on to that. What's your aim? As an Arsenal fan, having seen us compete for the title back-to-back years, but fall short, get closer and closer. What's your aim this year? Is it a title? Is it a Champions League? Is it the FA Cup? Is it a Carabao Cup? Is it a double? Chat, let me know as well.
Yeah, my expectation this season is silverware and a title race. That is my expectation. That is the bare minimum for me. This team has to win something, Bhavs. And do you know what? I'll say it now. It deserves to win something. It does.
It does.
It has deserves to win something now. These kids are giving their all for the last 3 years. And I say kids. Some of them aren't kids anymore. I get that, right? But for me, for the last few years, players like Bukayo Saka deserves to win something at Arsenal now, not in 5 years' time. William Saliba has to win something now. Otherwise, he's going to get itchy feet if Real Madrid come knocking. So the time is now to win, man. There's no more process or project for me. It's about winning and getting trophies in now. We've got our team. It's a very good team. We're adding to that still in a window. For me, it's silverware and take Man City to the wire again, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the bare minimum. And I hear that. I think that you have to expect that, when you go so close in the last few years, but silverware is important. So, is that FA Cup, Carabao Cup, or are you going for the big champs?
Listen, I'd love to go for the one with the big ears, man. Of course I would.
I would love that as well. I think everyone would love that.
I love the Champions League. But listen, I think people underrate the domestic cups now. I really don't know why. And I also don't know why some of the lower division sides, I don't mean lower division in terms of, like League One Championship, but why don't West Ham and Everton and Brentford and all that go for these seriously, man? True. Honestly, instead of trying to get 15th in the league, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Go and win something. And I think, people that say it's an energy drink cup, the FA Cup, we've done that. Go and ask George Graham that. Go and ask Tony Adams and Paul Merson that. They would not call it an energy drink cup or a Coca-Cola cup or an FA Cup. We've done that 14 times. Who cares? Done it, completed it, mate. They're going for it every single year. And I honestly believe, Bhavs, to finish this off, man, we need to go for all 4. We need to just go take it all 4 seriously this year. Well, listen, not win the quadruple. You know what I'm
Is that
saying?
what that?
As in go for all four. Do you know what I'm saying? As in
I, was-
take all four seriously, bro. That's what I'm getting
I just heard a quadruple talk personally.
at. Mate, never. I'd love it, but it's never gonna
Yeah, so would I. I think everyone would love a quadruple. It would be nice to have a quadruple, wouldn't it?
happen.
Anyways, right. Let's get into the actual nitty gritty. Right. Let's get into the predictions itself. I've got the. Here we go. Let's get you back in there. Here he is. You got little basic graphics. I didn't have that much time to go in depth, but I've got little Google Docs and I've got all the stuff there. So this is just a start, right? So Dan, I could have gone from 20th to first, but do we really care about the other teams as much as Arsenal fans? Not really. Our rivals are the top six. Let's go for what actually matters the most. Let's start from sixth, right? If you were to tell me right now, top 6 and I think fifth and fourth might get you champion. Fourth definitely does, but fifth might get you Champions League football. Who do you think is going to finish in the top six? So you got the options of Spurs, Villa as well. Chelsea might get into the top six. They got there last year. Or will there be maybe a Liverpool drop off on the slot? I know they look pretty good in pre-season. Or will there be a surprise package out of nowhere to get sixth? Who do you think?
I'm gonna go Man United.
Man United in sixth.
Yeah.
Well, you're not impressed by their performances so far in pre-season because they lost against Arsenal and they lost against I think Liverpool last night as well. So it's not a bad shout.
I don't think Manchester United for me are going to get Champions League football. I think they're going to just miss out, in my opinion. And now I like Man United in terms of what they've done. I don't like Man United. Let me start that again. I hate Man United. In terms of if I take my Arsenal cap off, I like what Man United have got now in terms of their structure. Yeah. I think they've got footballing men. And I think they will get it right. And I'll be surprised if Ten Hag is still there past Christmas. I think they'll make a change. And Man United will definitely get Europe, in my opinion, in terms of top six. But I'm going to get them into sixth place because I just don't feel like they have got or done enough yet. And I'm only basing this on the window's still open, Bhavs. Do you know what I mean? This can change again because obviously the window's still open, that things can change. But I'm going to put United in sixth, bro.
Okay, United in sixth. I don't think it's a bad shot, honestly. I think, especially if they've still got Ten Hag as a manager, I think they've made some decent little signings. They've got some good young players coming through as well. And I think they're on the right path, if I'm being real, which is kind of annoying because for so long they've kind of been a bit of a shambles behind the scenes. But giving Ten Hag a new contract, I don't know. I don't know what the owners see in him, and I think the longer he stays, the better for Arsenal fans and rival fans because
same.
They got funds. Let's not forget they got funds and they got pool as well. But unless they start getting the right manager there as well, I don't think they're going to finish in the top six or top five. Fifth. Chelsea, Tottenham, maybe West Ham. I think West Ham have made some very good signings.
Do you know what? West Ham could be, don't sleep on what West Ham are doing because that Tim Steinton guy is not mucking around. Real talk. But
no, it's not.
Okay, this is one that I'm going to go for Aston Villa. I think they might drop out. Yeah, I think they might drop out the top four because of Champions League football. I rate Emery. I think he's by far one of the better managers in the league. I like some of the business they're doing, but it's a lot of football, man. And the Champions League is new. It's a completely different thing. I think Aston Villa might just drop out the top four. But listen, fifth place could still potentially get you Champions League. You don't know yet. But I think fifth place for Villa.
Fifth place for Villa. I don't think it's a bad shot. I'm looking at West Ham's transfers. I'm going, under a new manager. I'm pretty sure they've got Julian Lopetegui now. Who's a very high caliber coach. I'm not saying Villa will drop out of the top six, but I don't think it's improbable. When you got the Champions League football, I don't think they'll get too far in it. But can you still drop? Chat will let me know this, right? Can you still drop into the Europa League? Say if you finish, because I know they changed how it works now. I don't think they can.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting.
I've heard that teams from champs can't drop down anymore to Europa League, which is. I think that's massive, because how many years have you?
Because you go out, that's it, done. Like European football done, man. That's mad if that's true.
And if that's the case, then I think Villa will definitely get top four, top five because they've got a manager who can get it and they've got enough good players. And Onana's a great signing as well. But let's keep Villa there fifth for now. We'll respect the guest's choice. We'll go to fourth. Top four. This is the Champions League football for sure. And a fifth might get Champions League football next year, depending on how far teams go. But fourth. Now, Chelsea's not in the top six so far. We've got no West Ham might make a Champions League charge. You never know. Could you imagine that? They'd have a parade for that. Will Liverpool drop down place? Who do you think? Tottenham, with a few more players, a few more signings, young players they've signed on the Postecoglou.
So this is my mad one. This is my shout that people might get involved in the chat and go, what? Newcastle. Hear me out.
I'll let you land.
Newcastle last season had the most unluckiest season in terms of injuries.
That's true.
They had literally the depleted side. They had Champions League football with it. They had a group death, right? Group death, death group even. And for me,
group of death.
Group of death. There we go.
There you go.
When you look at the squad they've got, players they've got coming back, I honestly think Newcastle are going to get back in the Champions League this season. 1 game a week. Joe Linton back. Tonali back. Bruno Gomares staying. Isak staying. Harvey Barnes. Anthony Gordon. Sven Botman and Mark Guehi at the back. 1 game a week. That's what the centre-half pairing looks like it's going to be. I think this could work at Newcastle, man. 1 game a week, and I'm fancying it. And I like what Eddie Howe's done. So I'm going to go Newcastle, and that's my wild shout of the season.
I don't think it's wild to say Newcastle will have a good season, but if you put them in 4th, and there's no Chelsea so far, and there's no Liverpool so far, and there's no Tottenham so far, 2 of those big 3 are going to miss out of the top 6, which personally I think would be crazy, but I don't think it will happen either. Even though I love to see it happen. So let's okay. Look, I'll let Newcastle marinate in the chat because people will be surprised, but you're giving your reasons for that, and that's fair. Let's move on to 3rd. Because we know what the top 2 will look like, in Isles at least. We're going to put City and Arsenal. So who's going to miss out of Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool out of the top 6?
So for me, I believe Spurs at the moment have done absolutely nothing to convince me that they're good enough to get into Europe. They've done nothing. Archie Gray's a good player, but does he take them to the next level? Not for me. I don't think they've got anything up top that frightens anybody. I don't think Kulusevski's consistent enough. Son's getting older. Richarlison's awful. I don't think they've got enough, in my opinion. In their midfield, no depth. In their defence, really good back line, but no depth other than Jurisin. That's the only one. That's the only guy that I would say. But let's be real. Spurs, I always have a bit of bias. I don't want to see them do well, man. I won't put Spurs in my top 4 or top 6. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm not going to.
That's fair, man. We're
as for Chelsea, I just don't get what Chelsea are doing. I don't understand it. It is an embarrassing project, bruv. They've got a championship-winning manager now from Poch. Poch finally got them going. They've stopped it again. They've looked shambolic in pre-season. Got battered last night again by Man City. So for me, I think Chelsea and Spurs are going to miss out on this top 6. This could all change, but for me right now, that's why I see it, man.
And I think that leaves Liverpool as 3rd. And I totally agree with that, by the way. I think Liverpool in pre-season look very impressive. And I think out of all the coaches, apart from Pep and Arteta, I'd actually put him as 3rd highest in the league. I think he's that good. And you can see how he's doing straight away, how authoritative he is for Liverpool straight away. He's doing the right things. He's not messing about. We've seen him playing against Arsenal. They look very sharp as well. And the players they've got, Salah, Van Dijk, proven winners that, when we get to the latter parts of the season, if you're fighting for top 4, they're going to have more than enough experience to go and do that. And, back in the Champions League as well, we'll see how far Liverpool do because they've got Champions League heritage, and I think that does matter. So look, I don't think Liverpool in 3rd's a mad shout. I just think no Chelsea and no Spurs. Let's just
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Let's just this is football heritage. This is football heritage. Football heritage. Now who does? Not in the Champions League at least. 100. 2nd and 1st. Okay, this is where things get tasty. Because there's 2 teams left, apart you maybe unless you've put Spurs first, which I don't know if you have.
No.
Arsenal, City. Do you think this is the year that we get over the line, that we get past 115 FC, and we go win a title?
I'd love to say yes, bro. I would absolutely love to say yes. This is the year. But at the moment, there's still a lot of work for us to do, in my opinion, in the transfer window to allow that to happen. I think at least 2 more faces need to come in after it looks like Marino could come in. I think we still need 2 more after that. Until I see that, then I'm not going to get too carried away. Manchester City seem to do this every year, man. It's crazy. We start to look every single season and go, but this, but that, but they've lost this, but they've lost this. And they go and do a 4-peat. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did a 5-peat. Best team in the world, best manager in the world, ridiculously good, hard to beat. We lost 1 game in 2024 and we still didn't win the league because of them. So honestly, man, it's crazy how good they are. And at the moment, unfortunately, bro, I've got to put Arsenal 2nd and Man City 1st. But I hope I'm wrong, man. I really do.
So that's your prediction, and I hear that. But this is the one time I'm going to overrule you. This is the one time I'm going to step in. I'm going to put Arsenal 1st. And I've got my reasons for that as well. I 100% hear that the whole thing of not doing enough in the window. And I hear the shouts. But I don't think City have gotten that much stronger, if I'm being real. And there's a chance that they might lose Edison if you go Saudi Arabia as well. That's a key, just not first in goalkeeper, but experienced player as well. I don't think KDB's going to Saudi anyways, but I think a major reason for why Arsenal kind of struggled in the first half of last year, and even towards the games in the second, games we were winning, was our left-hand side. That was the problem, because our right side was amazing. Now you got Calafiori in there. You got the returning Yuri and Timber. You've got a new number 8 in Mikel Moreno. You've got Martinelli now with a proper partnership to play alongside. Maybe a young player breaking through like Wanyeri. if we've got a left side that can match even half of the right hand side and how good that is, then I think we're equally balanced. And then you've got Havertz down the middle, who's going to have even more chances to go and score goals. But I think Havertz's role in the team is less to go in, I guess, score goals as well, as obviously that's the main thing, but also to help complement Martinelli and Saka. And when Martinelli's got that left hand side now behind him, Calafiori, Moreno, and other players into the team as well, I think there's a good chance that we're fantastic and we break through and get the extra few 5%. That's all we need, by the way. Extra 5%. If
Do
we
you
had a
think, though,
half a good
Bhavs, we
first
might
last
need?
year, we can go above City.
Do you think we might still need a striker or a winger or both? Because I worry for Saka.
I
I worry
feel
for
I feel
Havertz
like if
and
Eddie
Jesus.
leaves, because right now it looks like Eddie's the one, even though he's not
Yeah,
going to Marseille, I think he'll still leave Arsenal. That a striker is then more necessary.
yeah.
But I look at the current market and I go, well, who's that striker? Do you go take a risk on Gyökeres and spend 60, 70 million pounds above that on a striker that's had one good year in the top 5 league? Prior to that, he was playing for Coventry in the Championship. Do you go sign Osimhen? Because that Osimhen thing's very weird right now. Every Arsenal fan, this
Yeah.
time last year was Osimhen's the project phase 5 signing. And now he's available. No one's really going from like that. I know Chelsea have negotiations and PSG maybe, but I'm hearing talk of loans or options to buy, and I'm going, this is meant to be like a proper signing. So I feel like if we're going to sign a forward, it might be a wide player. But that being said, if Eddie does leave, then it might be like maybe not a first-rate striker, but a striker that could be something for the future. Let's not forget, by the way, that we talked about Shesko early in the window. And Shesko's a player that was a young striker that I don't think would have elevated us straight away, but long-term wise would have been amazing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we come up with an opportunity, come towards the end of the window, someone becomes available, maybe at a big club, and Arsenal go, look, we'll sign him for now, for this next season at least, to, like a Trossard, Moreno type signing to go and help us win a title. But I do believe we need a forward. If we don't sign a forward, then I'll put Arsenal second, by the way, because I think we still need a depth going forwards. But this is me believing that we are going to sign a forward. Not that I have resources, not that I have Josh Kroenke's phone number and I've asked him, who we're going to sign. But I do believe Arsenal first is my honest opinion. And I've honestly feeling, talking in the entire Arsenal fan base, I feel like it's very similar. Last year, some fans weren't convinced. They were like, but are we going to have second year syndrome and are we going to fall off a little bit? But we fought again. We got a little bit better and we fought them right to the end of the season. I think with the extra few signings, the left-hand side improved as well, and maybe a forward signing, Arsenal to win the title.
Listen, I hope you're right, bro. I really hope you're right. And I'm with you. If we don't want to sign a striker, I don't really have any confidence other than where we are from last season. I also feel like the wide player situation, it could be that we don't need a wide player if we get a striker because Gabby Jesus can come and cover for Saka there. So it would actually be a striker that I would get ahead of a right winger. We've also got Martinelli and Trossard that have played over there, to be fair. So for me, I just think Havertz and Jesus, are they clinical enough? We've seen them score goals, but in front of goal, we've seen them miss chances. And Alexander Isak is the one that does not miss a chance, right? For me, he's not available. You've got to go and look at who else is. If it's not Ivan Toney you want, if it's not Victor Osimhen you want, go for Victor Gyökeres. If it's not Victor Gyökeres you want, well, maybe you go and buy a wide player and go and get Isak and then follow in summer. But for me, I think we need a striker, bro. I really do.
Yeah. Who do I want to see sign personally? As the question comes in here, I would love to see a striker. And you know what? I do have an opinion in terms of Gyökeres. I feel like he can actually bag it, Arsenal, smash it.
Same.
The issue is the price tag. That's the only thing I have concern about. Because I've seen him play for Coventry the year before. And I think I watched him in the playoff final, he looked very impressive. Almost remind me a bit of Harry Kane. He can drop off and play ping passes in behind. So I think he's got so much physical potential on top of that he could thrive at Arsenal. I just don't know about how much we can negotiate for. Maybe if we drop it towards the end of this window and, Sporting go, hang on a minute, maybe this is the best time to cash into it and they go 60-50, I think that's doable. And I think there's a good chance of that. But I don't know if Arsenal convinced them on him like that, even though I had some rumours behind the scenes, about Gyökeres maybe actually being a main target anyway. So we'll see about that. Dan, if you were to, I guess, sign a striker now, if it's not, I guess, Alexander Isak, who I think is a favourite for most fans, who do you want instead?
Well, there's 3 realistic targets for me. The third one, I'll do them in order from back to front. The third one would be Ivan Toney. Yeah, yes. My top 3. The third 3 would be Ivan Toney. I just think he can come in and cause havoc. I think he can score goals. I think he is in the box there being clinical. I would go with Victor Osimhen as well because I do believe that if you can get the Victor Osimhen of the season before last, you've got an absolute beast there who's going to get you 25, 30 goals. But I really would put my money on Victor Gyökeres here because I look at everything about him. I look at the hold-up play. I look at the all-round number 9 play. I look at his ball carrying as well, which is underrated if you look at the stats. I look at how good he is aerially. I look at the way he is with both feet. The fact that he's gone over to England actually excites me, not because it was the Championship, because it's a competitive league that's physically demanding. And I feel personally like when you've put 58 GA in 50 games, you're a half decent player, right? No matter what league you're in.
Yeah,
So for me,
of
bro,
course.
I think it would be fine. I don't know if I'd pay 100 million euros, of course, but at
No,
the end of the day, I'm not an accountant. So if we can afford it and we believe that's the guy, we go get him, man.
that's true. Super Chat here says Neto and Gyökeres for £100 million. I don't. Oof. Yeah, if we sign Gyökeres, we won't sign Neto, and if we sign Neto, we won't sign Gyökeres. In my eyes, at least. And I don't want Neto because of the injury-prone nature. I just don't want a player who we might need, right? And he's injured. And I've seen it so much times with Partey and other players like that in our team that we relied upon them. You can look at Arteta signings now. He's looking for players that are reliable. They don't have a record of being injury prone unless they can fix that. Unless something that Arsenal see that Wolves are doing wrong and they go, look, we know we can do this better and get the best out of him. But we'll move on. We've got more things to discuss. Dan, Carabao Cup winner, FA Cup winner, and Champions League winner. Now it could be Arsenal, but if it's not, who's going to win the Carabao Cup?
I don't think it will be Arsenal because I have nothing to suggest that it's Arteta will take this one as seriously as he has in the last few years, which is not very serious. And I've gone for Man City, bro. Still think they've got the best squad. They haven't got a Club World Cup this year to get in the way of it. They would have won it, in my opinion, if they didn't have it last year. So I'm going to go for Man City. But for the FA Cup, I don't know if you want me to do that now, do you? Or
Go for it, man.
yeah. I'm going to go Arsenal.
Okay. We get something.
Arsenal.
Community Shield will be there 2025.
Yeah, man. Because for me, it's our trophy. It's 14 times. I think he knows he has to take a domestic cup at least seriously now because he knows that you can't put all your eggs in the Champions League or all your eggs in the Premier League. So for me, FA Cup, I'm going to go for it. I think let's be real, Bhavs, right? Other than the Champions League, I think we're the second favourites in all three of the other competitions. We've got to get one of them across the line, man. So I'm going to go FA Cup, man. I'm going to go for it. And I'd love that, by the way. People might look at that and go, oh, really?
15 times.
Nah, man. I'd love it. Number 15. Come on.
Yeah, it'd be nice, isn't it? 15 would be nice. And also, I would like the FA Cup, I always value higher, not just because Carabao Cups, it's mid-season. When you win a trophy mid-season, it's maybe nice to, for yourself later in the year to celebrate, but you're not going to have a parade for that. It's going to be one good night and that's about it. Because the FA Cup always comes at the end of the season. I love that it was last year, right, after the Premier League's over as well. I think that's heritage. Season's over, then you have the FA Cup final. It feels amazing to go to Wembley, and you must have been there, for the last ones. Maybe obviously not 2020, but prior to that, 2014 and beyond that. So,
17,
yeah,
man.
and FA Cup
was the last one. It's class.
Yeah. Maybe even the year was that the year we beat Chelsea? 2-1.
Yeah.
Conte's stop the double. So you're right. At the FA Cup as well, and I also feel like with the squad depth we have now, the signing of Moreno and Calafiori, Timber's coming back as well, and the youngsters that are now part of the first team squad, Miles, Skelly, Fuanieri, I think there's a good chance that we could go for the FA Cup. And I also think it matters about the luck of the draw. We saw United's run to the final last year. If you get anything like that, then and you get to the final. If we get to the final in the FA Cup, I'm always confident Arsenal are going to win it, and that's just because it's the Arsenal Cup, if anything, and it's Wembley, and it's heritage. So all right, we'll leave it as FA Cup winners, and in my eyes, Premier League winners. So doubles in the bag, Dan.
Double, bro.
Are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make it a treble with the big champs?
Can you imagine? Unfortunately, I don't see us winning the Champions League.
Okay.
I don't think Mikel Arteta's record in Europe is great, if I'm honest with you. Obviously, we had 1 year out of it, but the years that we were in the Europa League, I felt we should have done better. I don't think that he always rotated the squad too well. But when we've been in the Champions League for the first time back, I was actually fairly impressed. My problem was against Bayern Munich, we just didn't quite have enough. If I had to pick my kind of winners this time, I have nothing to not say Real Madrid again, man. Yeah, Real Madrid for me are we said it's Arsenal's cup, the FA Cup or the Champions League is Real Madrid's.
It's not a bad cup to have as well, is it? I mean, it ain't bad if that's your cup, the Champions League. And to be quite fair, I think it's quite a safe shout, but I don't disagree with it either. If I had to put my mortgage on it, I put Real Madrid forwards because they've got Kylian Mbappe now on top of the young players that are already getting better anyways. So there's a good shout. I think the Champions League this year is because I believe we are going to win the league title. That we're going to go far in the champs, just a little bit step further, maybe the semi-finals, but it will catch us out at one point that we've not been to the Bernabeu for, or a game like that. We've gone to the Allianz, might get over the line there, but these top sides, I still think we lack a moments player. In the league, I think you can get away with that because you've got so many games and it kind of evens out over the course of the year. But in the Champions League, you need moments players. We saw it in the Champions League final. Dortmund were a better team, much better team. You know, they're the ones that are, you know, dominating the game. But then, you know, Vinicius turns up and Carvajal turns up and he scores the goal, and that's what it's about. So, right, Dan, Champions League winners Madrid, also the FA Cup, City for the Carabao Cup, and the top six is Arsenal to win, in my opinion. You've changed, obviously, use the City, but it's fine. City second, Liverpool third, Newcastle fourth, Villa fifth, United in sixth, and no Chelsea, no Tottenham in the top six.
What are you saying to that, though? What are you
would be
saying
an
to that, though?
achievement. I think the Newcastle shout's crazy.
Okay.
In fourth, not that they should be. I think top six is a good shout, but fourth, maybe I'd move them down. I'd probably move United to fifth, maybe Villa to. Nah, I don't know. I need to think about this properly, but I think maybe drop Newcastle down to fifth or sixth at least. And,
Okay.
and you know, maybe Spurs will surprise us. I think with Postecoglou's football, I think they're better than United in my eyes because they've got a better coach. You know, and they've strengthened a little bit as well.
What about just swapping Newcastle and Villa? Would you say that was mad then?
I think it's a bit more fairer because Newcastle have Villa have a little bit more quality in my eyes. You know,
That's
so
fair.
and they've got a better manager as well.
And
So I
let me
think
say,
we'll
if Newcastle personally were in Champions League, I would not put them fourth. No way. Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
Because
no,
they've got one game a
I-
week and they've got a good side. I think that's why I think they might surprise. I'm not sleeping on them, man.
Okay, all right. You know what? We'll leave it at that for now.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Let's move on to the Arsenal awards, right?
Okay.
Surprise of the season, youngster to break through, top scorer, super sub, and player of the season. Let's shoot through, man. Let's shoot through. We've got a lot to break down here. Surprise of the season is now you could say this is a signing. Maybe Moreno comes and he catches you off guard. Hang on, this guy's a very good player. Didn't see him to be that important to us. Maybe it's a youngster, Wanyeri, Miles Skelly. Maybe it's a player like a Vieira, you know, that wasn't a starter in the last few years, but he's kind of broken through, or like a Kivior last year. So if I was to give you one player as our surprise of the season, and chat, join in, you know, drop us your own shouts. What do you reckon?
I'm gonna have the faith here, and I hope I'm right. I'm gonna go Martinelli because everyone's written him off, and I'm talking about rival fans here as well. Rival
Redemption arc
fans
of the
just
season.
believe he's done now. He's finished. He ain't getting back in this side. Trust me, with the right left-hand side that we sort out, I'm going for Martinelli to have a blinder of a season, man.
Do you know what? I think Martinelli's a fantastic shout. Him or Jesus, I think. And I think Martinelli's a better shout because of the fact that I think he'll start more games unless we sign a blockbuster left winger. And I think with Gabriel Jesus not being our main striker anymore, if Havertz is that player now, I think, you know, Martinelli will surprise a lot of people. Just because I think if he's got that left-hand side, you've got Calafiori, you've got Moreno, he's got, you know, consistent partners there. Like he had the year, you know, before with Zinchenko and Xhaka. 15 league goals he bagged in, you know, with a more creative Odegaard, a better Arsenal, a better Saka, and a better defence as well. I think it's a very good shout. So Martinelli as our surprise of the season. A question from Elton says, "What's my favourite dessert?" Dan, look, I'm going to put something forward, and Dan, if you don't agree, then honestly,
Go on.
something's wrong with you. Cheesecake.
I love cheesecake. It's not my favorite. I'm a crumble and custard type of guy, but you know,
It's not a bad
all
shout.
good.
That's not a bad shout.
Yeah, love a crumble and custard, man. But you know,
Do you know what
like, everyone loves cheesecake.
I'm going to throw out a bit of a shout here. I hate ice cream. Not because I'm
What?
lactose. I just don't. I think ice cream's very overrated. Very overrated.
Really? Depends
Yeah.
what kind of desserts you're having it with, or if you're talking about a Mr. Whippy along the seaside, or if you're talking about proper Italian ice cream.
Nah, I think ice cream is just very meaty.
Wow,
Honestly. And
that's a
like,
shout.
do you know if you go to like a dessert shop and they give you like, I don't know, waffle or something, and they give you ice cream on the side, dash it. I don't need it. Don't want it. It's
Really?
awful. It ruins it. I don't hate it, by the way, like that much, but I think it's overrated. I don't know why people choose ice cream as their go-to dessert. But hey,
Wow.
that's my thoughts on that.
Fair
I hear
play,
it,
man.
Bhavs. It's definitely overrated. All right, let's
Wow.
go for the
Wow.
youngster to break through. You know, maybe that's just as mad as your shout of West Ham and fourth. No, West Ham.
West
Newcastle.
Ham in full. Newcastle.
Yeah,
in
that's
full.
even, that'd be bigger.
Um,
Right, youngsters to break through.
It's got to be Ethan, man. It's got to be Wanyeri for me. Yeah, it's got to be Wanyeri. I just feel like everything about this kid looks fantastic on the ball. I don't see anybody else that gets near the quality I've seen from Ethan Wanyeri. I hear great things, so I've got to go for him, man. And I hope he does. I mean, a lot of people are
Yeah.
saying, do you want to see him breaking through? I want to see him break through. Personally, and this might be another wild shout. If Odegaard was to get a knock, I'd rather play Wanyeri in that position than Fabio Vieira. I know Arteta wouldn't. I've kind of finished with Fabio Vieira. A lot of people think that's harsh, but I've just seen enough to believe that he ain't going to get any better in this league. He's not suited to this league, in my opinion. I just think he's too weak and lightweight. Ethan Wanyeri, I think he could be a guy to break through, man. So, yeah, I'll go for Ethan.
Yeah, I think a great point George made was that, youngsters to break through, for youngsters, you need to address a problem that we don't already have or
Mm.
fix something that we need to fix, right? And I think Ranieri is a profile that we don't really have in the squad. Smith Rowe's gone as well, let's not forget. And I don't think we're going to sign a direct replacement. Maybe that's a show in faith of Ethan, the fact that he can play in our midfield, whether it's dictating tempo, dropping deeper, playing higher up the pitch, crashing the box. I think on the left-hand side, it's a very good chance. My only concern, though, is off the ball. The Premier League's intense. And Ethan's 17, and that's where I'm like, I'm not sure. But hey, in pre-season, I can't lie, he was looking the part, off the ball, tracking back, winning the ball back, winning his duels. Miles as well. I think the issue for Miles is going to be the fact that we've got Calafiori coming in, and you got Timber. And if his position is that inverted left-hand side player, then I think it's going to be hard for him, unless he plays in midfield as well. So I'm going to say Ethan's a very good shout for that. Top scorer now, Gabby Martinelli might be back. Saka's always a good shout as well. Kai Havertz, 13 league goals last year.
Yeah.
The first half, he barely played in terms of actually playing good football. So,
Yeah.
top scorer. Look, I'm gonna put Kai forwards. I think I saw a video of, was it Robbie saying that Kai's gonna bag 20 this season, and I'm gonna say I agree.
Do you know what's mad, right? I listened to that, and the amount of abuse he was getting for that was mad. Not abuse, you know what I mean? Robbie can take it, but what I'm meaning is people that were like, "That's a mad, wild take." He scored 13 or 14 last season, and he played at number 8 for most of the season.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I don't think it's a mad shout. However, I'm not going to go for Kai Havertz. I'm going to go for Bukayo Saka, man.
It's not a bad shout. It's not a bad shout.
This guy, oh man, I can't say enough about him, man. I'm running out of superlatives for him. Like, I was so happy, Bhavs, that he was one of our best players at the Euros, because everybody was waiting for him to be invisible.
Massive.
And it was Foden that was invisible. That was what, and by the way, I'm not hating on Foden. I think he's incredible, Foden, right? But people were like, oh, let's see what Saka does this tournament. Not one mention of Bellingham or Foden. And Saka outplayed both of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I think people look at Saka and they sometimes just think, what can I do to hate on this kid? Because Arsenal fans get carried away with him. Yeah, some Arsenal fans might say he's world-class, best in the world, best you've ever seen. I think that's nonsense. It doesn't take away how good this kid is, man. Trust me, this guy has carried Arsenal for the last 3 years on his shoulders at the age of 18, 19 and 20. He's got to 22 now, and he is a baller, mate. Absolute baller. So I'm going for Bukayo, man. I'm going to go for him as top scorer again.
I totally agree. I still think Havertz will outscore him, and I just say that because he gets into so many goal-scoring positions that I think he'll score goals for fun. And that's because he's got more confidence now. Even watching him in pre-season, you can just tell that he knows what he's doing now on this Arsenal side. It's all kind of all automatic in his mind. Whereas last year he came in, he had to earn the trust of the fans. He had to get his own chant. So many little things, for the first half of the year. If he had started the year as a striker, he could have scored at least 5-10 more goals and maybe been in a shot for top scorer, which is crazy because a lot of fans still think, what does he even do? If he can score 20 plus goals next year, I think fans will know this is the guy. So massive for him. Super sub. Now look, the super sub that comes to mind, remember that year where Nelson came on and scored the winner against Bournemouth?
Yeah.
And then last year, who was our super sub? And super sub doesn't have to be a player who comes off the bench all the time, but someone who might not be a starter, break into 11, maybe like Kivior last year, kind of surprised a lot of people. In the NBA, you got this thing called a sixth man of the year, which is the player who's not a starter in the starting 5, but he comes off the bench and does very well, a good rotation player. Who do you think is going to be? It's going to be Leandro Trossard.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that I thought of for this season just gone, because if you remember, he wasn't really starting, and then obviously he came on and he's that guy. This one's hard actually, because there's a lot of, it depends what you mean by super sub, because some people might think it has to be an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer type that comes on and scores goals. I think if we get a striker in or a forward player, I would go for Gabriel Jesus as the super sub.
That's what I was going to say as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good shot for Jesus.
I believe he can come on and he can really make things happen. I actually think he's a beautiful footballer to watch, Bhavs. I just don't think he's a number 9. I think he's one of our best technically. I think he's just really good, and he's a workhorse as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we started to see him play over on the right-hand side a lot more. I don't know if you remember the game against Man City at the Emirates where he played there when Saka was out. That was one of the best games I've ever seen Jesus having an Arsenal shirt. I thought he was phenomenal, man. And in the Champions League, he was like, people were sleeping on him, man, because he was really good for us in the Champions League last season. So I'm going to go Jesus as a super sub, man.
Yeah, I actually agree with Jesus' shout, because to be quite honest, the fact that he can play left and right hand side as well. So you can, in some games, if you need him as a down striker, bring him on. If not, you can play him left and right and wing. I think very versatile. We saw it against, was it the game against Bayern last year? He came on and just whiz through the defense and play it to Trossard.
Yeah.
Babs, why do you always wear black? I'm dressed up for Man City's funeral. Do you know
Oh.
what I mean? Yeah. Zinchenko surprise the season. I'm not sure. I think he'll stay, but in certain games maybe. But I don't think Mikel trusts him like that to start anymore. But Jesus, I'm going to put down as our surprise or super sub of the season, player of the season. So far in this list is no Odegaard. Surely he deserves a shout. Maybe even Declan Rice. William Saliba. Many players there that we haven't even talked about, which is a good sign, by the way. A very good sign. Player of the season. Because look, I think the back-to-back years is it Odegaard? If I'm right in saying.
Yeah.
Saka maybe gets his flowers this year. Rice might, become a shout. And by the way, the player of the year doesn't have to be just for Arsenal. This could be the Premier League player of the year. If Arsenal win the title, by the way, this could be the main one.
Yeah, and I think for me, if Arsenal were to win the title, I think it will be Martin Odegaard that gets player of the season. Declan Rice was my player of the season last year, but everybody said it was Odegaard. Saka probably deserves a shout because obviously if I put him down as top scorer, then he's probably going to be, the reason that we're up there. But I've been so impressed with Martin Odegaard, bruv. Like, so impressed with him. Like, even in pre-season, Bhavs, like, he was levels above everybody, like head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion. Like, insanely good. And I love his work rate. And I love the fact that when you get to 90 minutes, if he's still on the pitch, which he usually is, he's still running like it's the 9th minute, not the 90th. He is a phenomenal player, man. And what a signing he's been. I mean, he's definitely Arteta's best signing, in my opinion. I mean, for 34 million or what the hell it was, or 32 million.
Crazy.
It's a bargain, man. Absolutely. What would he be now? Absolute bargain. So, yeah, man, I'll go with it. Do
you know what? Looking at this right now, I think it's sensible. And I think we can come back to this end of the year and be like, okay, you know what? We were onto something here. I don't think there's any major surprises here that stand out to me. Martinelli surprise of the season. I can back that. 1 year it's a breakthrough, 100%. Saka, I think that's the one thing I changed to Havertz. I think there's a good chance that he can score even more goals with the chances he scores. And if he becomes our penalty taker, which he won't, but he can take pens. Jesus, super sub, great shout. And Odegaard, player of the year. Got so many options. Rice, Saliba, Saka. We'll see about that. Could you imagine Havertz was player of the year? I mean that would be That would be crazy. If he scores the most goals and maybe wins a golden boot.
Do you know the only thing that we might have missed is if we win the title, it's not normally the strikers that win you the title, it's normally the defence. So we could have here potentially a Saliba player of the season and a surprise of the season, Calafiori. He could be a surprise of the season. I know people are highly rating him, but we're looking at it more as an attack-minded here with Saka's and Jesus's and Odegaard's and Martinelli's. But we forget that what Arteta's trying to build is like very, very good at the back. So yeah, man, I think it could be an interesting one, Calafiori.
What do you think of the whole Chelsea record? 15 goals. Do we have a chance of coming close to that? If not breaking that would be crazy. Because that record is insane. But we were so good defensively last year. We've added to become even stronger. You look at the back four now. You've got Calafiori maybe starting with Timber, Saliba and Gabriel, Ben White, Raya and goal. I don't see any weaknesses. No. Not defensively. And if you want to, break a team apart going forward, bring on Zinchenko. If you want to play more defensive, you can bring on Kivio or Tomiyasu. I haven't talked about him. I think there's a good chance that we can go for it.
Yeah, I do. And you shouldn't be obsessed by records, but your target should be to get as close to them as 100%. Possible. So for me, we should not be looking at it going, we've only conceded 12 now, or we're getting close to it. We should be not worrying about that. But I tell you what we should be doing is, as a department, defenders should be having that as their target. Yeah, midfielders should be having their own targets. Strikers should be having their own targets. For me, scoring goals is important. Keeping clean sheets is even more important for me, because you ain't going to lose a game if you don't concede a goal. Right? So for me, I feel personally that we can close it. And, I got clips up the other day saying that Arsenal were going to break Chelsea's defensive record, all this. I didn't say that. I said that should be the target. And I said that what we should be doing is we should be now building something with the depth that we've got in Timber and Tomiyasu. I believe we should be trying to aim to set records. And that's the one to be broken, man. 15 goals. Listen, even if we get to 20, what we conceded, it's unbelievable. Do you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to break that record, but I think getting close to it would be what we should do. And I honestly believe Arteta is the aim of that. And I'll say this, Bhavs, right? Lastly, Calafiori coming in is now going to be our left back, in my opinion. You've still got Timber and Tomiyasu there as well, right? Every single goal that I can think of that Zinchenko down that left-hand side or Kivior against Fulham that we conceded was down that side. It was very, very rare that it came down Ben White and Saliba's side. It was normally Gabriel and the left-back side. For me, if we can shore that up with Calafiori, I think it will improve Raya. I think it will improve the back line. I think with Rice sitting in and anchoring, if he is going to be the 6 with Marino as the 8, I think this could be, I think we could get close, man. Let's see. That should be the aim.
Yeah, you're right. I think if I'm an Arsenal centre back or Arsenal defender, I'm having that conversation. I'm saying, imagine we can do that. If we win a title, I mean, if we concede 15 goals, we win a title for sure. And if they can do that, it puts them in the history book straight away as arguably the best back four of all time in Premier League history. Could you imagine how big it is for the legacies? I think you're right. I think we have to have a convo. Right, we're going to end this on a final topic, right? 3 non-negotiables. Mikhail loves his non-negotiables. So for you, Dan, as an Arsenal fan, Dan the fan, what is your non-negotiables? Things that you go, look, Arsenal need to do this year. Is it something in the Champions League? Is it a player starting? Is it, winning a title, winning a trophy? What's your first non-negotiable?
Yeah, do you know what's mad is I actually did something similar with this with Sophie on the hybrid squad. Looked at the non-negotiables. She asked me for 5, so I'm going to pick the 3 that I thought were most important.
Normally I'm the 5 guy, but we'll give you 3.
You are the 5 guy, man. What's happening? I'll do it in order. You want me to do 3, yeah?
We'll do 3. We'll do 3.
Okay. The first one is for the Cronkies and Edu, which is right now. Do not leave us short this window. Because for me, I do not want to be closing that window and going, we still haven't really got a Saka replacement. We don't have a striker. And, if Declan Rice gets injured, we're kind of screwed in midfield. Or if, I know we'll not want this. Like if Saliba got to knock who plays right, I don't want any of that stuff. I want it to be like, wow, every position now is covered. So for the owners and Edu, do not leave us short, right?
Got you.
This one's not going to sound great, but I'm going to say it because I think it's important. This one's for the fans. And it's to demand silverware and stop using the process as excuses.
Okay.
I think raise the standards a little bit, Bhavs, is what I'm getting at. Because for me, I think we need to demand more from this club. We're an unbelievable football club. We're the 3rd biggest club in England, only behind Liverpool and Man United. Don't let City or Chelsea tell you otherwise. We're still the 3rd biggest. Trophies say that. And then everything else we match them with in terms of the heritage and the fan base, global fan base, stadium, etc. Right? So for me, personally, we need to demand more. And I honestly believe that we should be going into this season saying we have to win something. So that's one of mine. So we've got the owners in Edu, we've got demand silverware. My next one's for Arteta. Okay. Take the domestic cups seriously. Please. That is non-negotiable. We cannot go for over 30 years without a League Cup, over 5 years without an FA Cup, and over 21 years without a Premier League title, and 30 plus without a European trophy. For me,
you're right.
Silverware is a must, man. We're too big for that, Babs. We should not be doing that long. So take them seriously, man. They're my 3. I hope that makes sense.
No, I think it all makes sense. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans will share similar opinions because I think every Arsenal fan believes that, the whole demanding silverware is something that we need to do as fans. And I think we are doing that as well. As much as, we need to do, we are doing it. I think fans are going to title this year. No one's going, if you go close this year, that's about it. No, we want to win a title this year. And if we don't win a title this year, then everyone's going to be very disappointed. And it's going to feel like a funeral. And that's how it should be, because you have to, if the aim is to be the Real Madrid, how big they are and how great they are, then man, if they don't win a Champions League, are depressed. It's a funeral for them. And so we need to get to that stage bit by bit. And it shows how far we've come because 3 years ago, this would have been demand top 4. It would have been demand Champions League football. Facts. We got that sorted out now. And so it shows progress that a couple of years later, we're going to demand a title. We're not just going, we wouldn't mind a title, we demand a title. We need a title. And I think that's the key thing. I love the FA Cup, I love the Carabao Cup, but I want a big one. If we win a trophy this year, I want it to be a Champions League or Premier League, like a defining trophy. And if not, then it's not bad to win an FA Cup. Of course, it's not a worst case scenario. But for me, I demand a big trophy. Champions League, Premier League, I want something to have a parade for. I don't think there'll be an FA Cup. I think it will be a Premier League title. And I want to see the streets of North London full of fans, happy, jubilated because we've got a title. Or maybe a Champions League, or maybe both. Maybe 3.
The street, maybe if we win one of them majors, man. One of them majors, the streets ain't ready, bro. I'll tell you this now.
The streets actually aren't ready. Yeah, the streets physically aren't ready either. So we'll see. We'll see. Dan, it has been a pleasure, as always, to speak to you. that has been our Premier League predictions. So mad shouts there, comments. Let us know what you think about it as always. Smash a like on this video, but more importantly, subscribe to Dan's channel, the Football's 12th Man podcast. Dan, have you got anything coming up?
Yeah, man, I'll have a couple of videos being posted out tonight and tomorrow. So please make sure you come over, show some love. Road to 30K people. So please come and help. And listen, man, thanks so much for having me on, man. I've enjoyed it.
Pleasure. Let's go back. Let's hopefully, right, watch this back at the end of the season and go,
Yeah.
You know what? That first was right. The first was right.
Yeah, I don't care. Do you know what? I don't care about anything else. Out of all our predictions, I couldn't give a toss other than Arsenal win the league. That's the only one I want to come right, because I don't care who's our player of the season or who keeps the most goals. Arsenal win that league, man. As I say, streets ain't ready.
It'll be crazy. Anyways, pleasure as always. We'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.